Section 2 of Part 1 of Book 1 is titled Division of the Subject. Because our impressions precede our ideas, we begin first by distinguishing two types of impressions, those of sensation and those of reflection. Some impressions come directly from sensation, for example, smells or colors, while other impressions arise only from things that we think or reflect upon. For example, thinking about pain can make us feel fear. Thinking about someone else's good fortune can make us feel envious. Section 3 is titled Of the Ideas of the Memory and Imagination. Having distinguished two types of impressions, Hume notes two types of ideas, the ideas of the memory and the ideas of the imagination. He says that impressions cause ideas in two ways. The idea either retains a high degree of its initial vivacity, and for this reason it is somewhat between an impression and idea. Memory is the faculty that repeats these impressions. Or the idea loses the impression's vivacity and becomes a perfect idea. The faculty that repeats such impressions is the imagination. Hume finds two key differences between ideas of the memory and ideas of the imagination. Firstly, the ideas of memory are stronger and livelier than those of the imagination. Hume notes the second difference between these two kinds of ideas. And he says that whereas the memory preserves the order and position of the original impressions, the imagination is free to separate and rearrange all simple ideas into new complex ideas. His second principle is that the imagination is at liberty to transpose and change its ideas. We see this often in fairy tales telling of winged horses, fairy dragons, and monstrous giants. The strange combinations we find in the imagination, such as winged horses, can be explained by the fact that none of our impressions are perfectly separable from other ones. So because our ideas are copied from our impressions, it would follow that we might imagine things in these strange ways. Also, the imagination is free to separate out simple ideas from complex ones. Section 4 is titled Of the Connection or Association of Ideas. Here Hume says that there must be some universal principles which make the operations of the mind uniform. As we have discussed, the imagination is free to separate and rearrange all simple ideas into new complex ones. But despite this freedom, the imagination still tends to follow general psychological principles as it moves from one idea to another. This is the association of ideas. And here Hume finds three natural relations guiding the imagination: resemblance, contiguity, and causation. The association of ideas refers to the mental connection or link that humans create between different thoughts, perceptions, or experiences. According to Hume, these associations are not based on any inherent or necessary connections between ideas, but are instead formed through repeated experiences where one idea brings to mind another idea. Hume identified three primary principles or types of association that govern how ideas are connected in the mind. The first is resemblance. Ideas that resemble each other tend to be associated. For instance, the thought of one apple might lead to thoughts of other apples due to their shared similarity in appearance. The second is contiguity. Ideas that are temporally or spatially related tend to be associated. For example, the thought of a childhood friend might bring to mind memories of places you visited together or events you experienced in each other's presence. The third is cause and effect. Ideas associated through cause and effect relationships. When we experience one event regularly followed by another, we tend to associate them. For instance, the sight of dark clouds might lead to the expectation of rain due to the observed regularity of such events. Complex ideas are the most remarkable effects of the association and union of simple ideas. We will now examine the three types of complex ideas: relations, modes, and substances, in the upcoming section, section 5, which is titled Of Relations. There are two senses to the term relation. First, the quality connecting two ideas in the imagination in such a way that one idea naturally introduces the other, in the manner explained previously. The second is that the particular circumstance that allows us to compare two arbitrarily combined ideas in the imagination. Common language uses the first sense, and it is only in philosophy that we extend it to mean any particular subject of comparison without a connecting principle. Hume now lists the 7 sorts of circumstances that allow us to compare objects. The first is resemblance. All relations must have some degree of resemblance because, in order to compare things, they must first resemble each other. Yet, not every resemblance produces an association or connection of ideas. For example, when objects share a quality that is common to many other objects, our imaginations no longer are able to fix on any single object. The second is identity. The relation of identity holds strictly for constant and unchanging objects. It is the most universal relation because it is common to all beings with duration. The third is space and time. The relations of space and time are the sources of countless comparisons, such as distant, contiguous, above, below, before, after, and so on. Next to identity, it is the next most universal and comprehensive relation. The fourth is quantity or number. Objects which may be quantified or counted may be compared in terms of their numerical value. The fifth is degrees or intensities of quality. When two objects share a common quality, they possess that quality in different degrees. Thus, of two objects which are both heavy, the one may be either of greater or less weight than the other. Two colors that are of the same kind may yet be of different shades, and in that respect admit of comparison. The sixth is contrariety. It might seem that we cannot have contrariety as a relation because all relations must have some degree of resemblance. But even relations of contrariety involve resemblance. For example, there is one definitive relation of contrariety: existence and non existence. Here, both ideas resemble each other insofar as they both imply some object, even though non existence excludes the object from all times and places in which it is supposed not to exist. The seventh and the last is cause and effect. The other objects that we find to be contrary are objects of experience, such as fire and water and heat and cold. What we experience are the contrariety of their causes and effects.